There's a good chance you already installed Logic Pro 10 to your Mac. But in addition to clicking Buy in the App Store, there are a few other nuances to installing Logic Pro 10 for the first time that I want to touch on in this movie. If you've ever bought software from Apple's App Store, buying and installing Logic is no different. This is a fairly new, streamlined, disk-free, and worry-free of purchasing, downloading, and installing software. Before you can successfully install the software, you must have these software and hardware requirements: 4 GB of RAM, a display with a 1280 by 768 resolution or higher, OS X version 10.8.4 or later. Logic 10 also requires 64-bit audio units plugins. This is a huge point to consider if you're planning to use older plugins that are 32-bit. You also have to have a minimum of 5 GB of disk space before you can install Logic Pro. Or you must have 35 GB free for the in-app download. We'll get to this last point in a second. So you navigate to the App Store, or additionally the iTunes Store, and click Buy. Here's a helpful tip. If you have a gift certificate or a discount, you have to add it first and redeem it before you click Buy. Logic will begin installing in the background. Once it's done, we can go ahead and launch Logic for the first time. The first time you launch Logic, it'll ask you if you're a first-time user or if you've used Logic in the past. We'll choose first-time user, and the ramifications of this are actually profound, as we'll see in a second. Here we'll choose one of the built-in templates to start out. These are Logic projects already loaded with tracks and sounds for easy access. Let's choose the electronic one. Now, because we said we're using Logic for the first time, the app will treat you with kid gloves, even giving you less professional-looking controls on the graphic user interface. Logic Pro 10 is such an advanced and complex audio application that in this build, the designers allow you to view and access varying levels of complexity via turning on and off advanced options. Don't worry, we'll move past the kid glove stage right away. We'll be exploring the advanced settings as we go, and we'll definitely dive into some of the more complex features when appropriate in this course. So also, the first time you open the app, Logic will ask you about installing the 35 gigs of additional content, and I highly recommend doing this. But remember, if you're going to do it, it's a ton of content, and it takes several hours to download, so you might want to leave a free evening or let it run overnight if you can. Now that we have this project open, notice the buttons and the tracks look like some of the icons you might know if you've ever used GarageBand. But again, I'm going to assume you're serious about audio since you're now learning Logic, so let's move past these to more professional buttons. If we go up to Logic Pro 10, Preferences, Advanced Tools, here we can choose Show Advanced Tools. So now that we've done this, notice the project has updated to show our advanced tools, and the headphone and crossed out speaker icons now turn into M and S, standing for Mute and Solo. Mute is used to turn off the track sound, and Solo is used to isolate the tracks. This is just one example of what turning on advanced options gives you. And there are many more options that we'll want to have access to, so we'll leave it checked for the remainder of this course. So now that we've successfully installed Logic Pro 10 and we've taken the kid gloves off, it's time to make some music.